Hi there, welcome.
Looking at the list of names to see if I'm going to get heckled by anyone.
Thanks, Sander. Okay, it is 12:30. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by introducing our guest host here. So this is the APMP-NCA. Where Ceri was so kind to bring us this idea of running this AI proposals, people, process, then technology topic. So I'm so excited to have Ceri run this meeting. I'm very excited to learn more about this as somebody who was kind of AI hesitant. But now I'm totally full in. But anyway, Ceri Mescall is the Managing Director of Strategic Proposals Canada and an APMP Fellow. So she is very seasoned in the industry. So she's a great person to talk through this with us. In any case, I'm going to hand over the reins to Ceri, and I will be in the chat to talk to you all throughout this meeting.
Victoria, just tech check. Can you see my screen, full screen?
I can see
a
it full
million windows open. I've got the right one. That's good. Okay.
Looks good.
We will we'll get going. So thanks for the intro, and thank you to everybody for joining today. A few housekeeping items before we get going. APMP-NCA is recording the session, so don't worry about having to make too many notes or take screenshots throughout. There will be time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, so please just hold off until then, although I will be asking you questions throughout in the meeting chat. And finally, if you're comfortable, please turn your camera on. Really helps me to see if the content's landing, and no judgment if you're in the Eastern time zone and you're eating lunch. So before I introduce myself, I'd love to see who we have in the audience. So maybe type your name and where you're joining us from. I know this is an NCA chapter event that they've kindly opened to other APMP members. Or if you're feeling bold, maybe share what excites or concerns you most about AI in proposals, and we'll just see those come through. I know they take a minute or two. Yeah, we have representation from Canada. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, a few familiar names there. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Wow, we've got a good... Oh, wow, they've come through thick and fast.
They're really quick, yeah.
Yeah, a few from Canada. That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's... Oh, Scotland. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay, let's get started. So I'm Ceri Mescall. I have two confessions to make today. Firstly, I am not a data scientist, and that's why I'm sometimes hesitant to talk about AI. But the second confession, I am a proposal nerd, and that is exactly why I'm here today and why I think I'm qualified to speak on this topic. So November 2022, November 30th, on this date, something big happened. Something that would change the way we develop proposals forever. It was the date that ChatGPT was publicly released. And within 5 days, 1 million people were testing the tool. Before we knew it, proposal teams were starting to use it too. And the real question became, how are we going to make AI work for us instead of the other way around? So, like many of you, like Victoria mentioned, my initial response, probably a bit of skepticism, maybe a bit of apprehension. I'd seen proposal automation tools before, but they had high costs and barriers to entry, whereas ChatGPT, it was free, it was accessible, pretty easy to use. So I decided then I needed to become an educated user and eventually an educated buyer as well. So how did I do that? Well, I undertook some AI related training. So Microsoft, Google, PMI all do some really good foundational courses. Wrote an article about the past, present, and future of tech in proposals. Served as a panelist on a APMP and Lupio webinar. Contributed to a few ebooks and blogs. Provided some pro bono advice to some of the AI vendors out there. Then more recently contributed to the question design of SP's second AI in Proposals survey, started testing custom GPTs, Copilot agents within strategic proposals for various use cases, and played a leadership role in developing a new AI service that we're going to be launching soon. I'm not going to pitch that to you today, but I'm super proud of it. So if you'd like more information on that or any of the other resources that are shown on screen, just message me via LinkedIn and I'm happy to share. But all of this stuff, all of this learning wasn't just for myself. I wanted to be testing AI through the lens of proposal professionals like all of us. If I can just ask if you can mute your line. Thank you. So why and why now? Well, we're over 2 years since that ChatGPT public release date, and AI isn't a novelty anymore. It's become mainstream. So Lupio Trends and Benchmarks Report 2025 was issued a couple of weeks ago. The key stat there, 68% of teams now using AI, which is actually double last year's number. I feel like we've moved beyond the experimentation phase where different team members were testing different tools in silos. There's a real need now for us to be consistent, scalable in how we integrate the AI across our proposal functions. And the use cases have evolved as well. So whereas before it was pretty strategic, pretty tactical in terms of note-taking, content summarization, we're now seeing a shift to more strategic use cases. So how can we make better go, no-go decisions? How can we refine pricing strategies, support capture planning, those types of things. Security concerns that everybody had with ChatGPT, more AI tools now designed with the enterprise level protections. So, they're a safer option for organizations that have those strict InfoSec requirements. And fairness is an interesting one. So I'd say the conversation has shifted. So if you're not using AI, you're now at a competitive disadvantage because everybody is. It's table stakes now. We're also seeing buyers using AI, so drafting RFPs, evaluating proposals, managing procurement more effectively. And I'd say all of that's great while AI adoption is accelerating. We've got some new challenges as well. So over the past 2 years since that ChatGPT release, I'd say I probably had hundreds of virtual coffees with people in proposals. In almost every conversation, I'll ask the same icebreaker, which is, what's the biggest challenge or opportunity that you're focused on right now? And I'd say 90% of the time, the answer has something to do with AI. But the pain points differ depending on which stakeholder group I'm talking to. So If I'm talking to a peer, a proposal professional, they're juggling AI adoption. Maybe they've been given it as a side project because we're not busy enough with a day job. Some have put up their hand and volunteered. Others, maybe they were voluntold. Next is proposal team managers. So I know a lot of folks out there, they have a proposal automation tool and they're thinking, do we renew that contract? Do we start to look at investing in some of the newer AI solutions out there? And then senior leadership, they're looking at the numbers, they're weighing the investment versus the ROI, essentially asking, is the juice worth the squeeze? So all of that's exactly why we're here today. I want to talk you through this, cut through the noise, focus on what really matters, which in my opinion is integrating AI effectively, but also strategically and at scale. So what can you expect from the session? Like I said, this isn't another session about AI tools, because success with AI isn't just about the technology. It's about how you set yourself up, your team up, and your organization up for success. So we'll take a structured three-part approach to the session today. We will start off with people and culture. So we'll look at the mindset shifts that we need for adoption, how to get team buy-in, so that you're seeing AI as an enabler rather than as a threat. Then we'll look at process. So we'll discuss workflow integration, how AI can fit in with your proposal lifecycle, and how we can look at it to enhance efficiency rather than adding complexity and slowing things down. And then finally, we will cover tool and vendor selection at a high level to make sure the solution aligns with your needs. If I could ask people to mute themselves, thank you. By the end of the session, I want to give you a practical, structured roadmap, one that balances the people and culture, the process, and the technology for that real scalable impact. So we'll kick off with people and culture. Why does culture matter when it comes to AI adoption and proposals? Like I said, AI success isn't just about the technology, it's about the people using it. And I'd argue that people and culture doesn't just involve soft skills, it's really the foundation of whether AI integration is going to succeed or fail. The organizations I've spoken to that foster a growth mindset, that collaborate, that operate with continuous learning, they're going to outperform those that resist change. So before we move on to discuss processes and tools, we'll spend a bit of time on people and culture here, and we'll start with the human factor. So I think most of us are familiar with the concept shown on screen. So the idea that people generally operate with either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. First introduced by the psychologist Carol Dweck in her book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. But I like this visual shown on screen, pinched it from Harvard Business School online. Really think it does a great job of summarizing the key differences. I've included the reference and the source link at the bottom if you want to go and check out the article, which is pretty good. How does all of that relate to AI adoption in proposals? I'd argue that the mindset that you and your team adopt is going to determine how successful you are with AI adoption. Teams with that fixed mindset are probably going to see AI as a threat. They might resist change. They might want to try as hard as they can to stick to traditional ways of working. Whereas teams with the growth mindset, they're going to see AI as an opportunity. They're going to embrace experimentation, and they'll want to continuously improve how they're using it. So I want to be practical rather than theoretical here. So here are some examples of maybe a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset in terms of AI in proposals. So yeah, this is one I've heard a ton of times before. Proposal writing is a human skill. AI can't improve the collaboration. I'd say the growth mindset response to that. There's a lot that AI can do, and can we find ways to make the collaboration easier rather than more difficult? Another big one, we already know our competitors. AI can't tell us anything new. I'd argue the speed at which AI can analyze the trends across multiple different sources of data is so much quicker than we could do it manually. Why wouldn't we want to use it to either validate our assumptions or throw up something new? And the last one, I think we heard the same with proposal automation 10 years ago. SMEs don't have time to learn it. It's easier to just keep doing things the old way. Yeah, I think if we can focus on the benefits, if SMEs can see that they're drafting content faster and better, they're going to spend less time on proposals and be able to get back to the day job. So I've got some more examples here. I'm not going to read through them all, but some examples around, maybe who needs to use AI and what can we use it for. I'll leave you take a moment to reflect on those. But first point of interaction in the chat. I'd love you to take a moment to reflect. Think about your own mindset towards AI. Think about your team. Maybe think about the stakeholders that you collaborate with. So your technical SMEs, your sales team, your leadership. And now think about your wider organization. So how is AI being received at that organizational level? And after thinking about all that, would you say that your team, your organization are leaning more towards a fixed mindset or a growth mindset when it comes to AI in general or in proposals specifically? And if you could drop either an F in the chat for fixed or a G for growth, and we'll see which way the audience is leaning. It's impressive. I was thinking we were going to get a split, and it's all of its growth, which is, yeah, some F tendencies will allow that. That's fine. Oh, there's some, yeah, we have a mix. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, some great responses there. Thank you. I'd say even teams with that growth mindset who are really excited about AI and what it might be able to do still might struggle with adoption if they don't also have a clear structured process or processes in place. I think the mindset will get us a lot of the way there, but it's not going to get us all of the way there. And AI needs to obviously fit into the way we actually do our work. And that's why process is also so critical. It's what's going to keep us from just keeping AI as an experiment. We're going to move towards this scalable, repeatable part of proposal operations. So maybe let's move on. We'll think about how we can build AI into our processes in a way that works. So process, why is process important? Well, like I said, AI on its own isn't a solution, it's a tool. And like any tool, its effectiveness is going to depend on how well it's integrated into those structured, repeatable workflows. And I'd say, three main points here on process. Firstly, process is going to ensure that AI is used consistently rather than randomly and sporadically in pockets. Secondly, it's hopefully going to maximize efficiency, compliance, strategic decision making. And then last but not least, hopefully it's going to reduce risk so that it's going to enhance rather than disrupt all of the good things that we're already doing in our day-to-day. I'd say flip side of that, without the strong processes, AI adoption is more likely going to be inconsistent, risky, and you're not going to get the ROI that you anticipated. In terms of some of the common process challenges that I'm seeing, and some suggestions for how to solve them, we'll look at that next. So, yeah, some common challenges here. Resistance to process change. Some solutions here, framing the process improvements as a way to make work easier. So, selling the benefits rather than just having process for process's sake, and involving teams in designing the new workflow so they feel like they're involved. Overly rigid processes is another one. See that pretty frequently. Solution there is obviously designing AI workflows that allow that flexibility. So you might be working on different proposals with different levels of complexity. You may have, if you're working for a big organization, different business units that have nuances and do things slightly differently. And then this is a common one I see when people have gone straight to the technology without thinking about the people, the culture, the process. They've selected a tool that doesn't fit the process, and then they're having to reverse engineer it. So thinking more intentionally about, what do you want to adapt to the AI tool, and what needs to stay? What does the tool need to adapt to in terms of your established best practices? Again, here I'd love you to take a moment to reflect. In one word, how would you describe your current proposal process? If you can type that in the chat. And there's no judgment here. Dated, manual, rigid, complex. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, these are all too common. These are things that I hear all of the time. I think this is exactly why process matters for AI adoption. Because AI is not going to fix a broken process, right? It's going to amplify what's already there. So if we choose a tool and we embed AI into strong workflows, a strong process, we're going to see efficiency, consistency, better decision making. But if we embed AI into chaos, we're just going to get faster chaos, more inefficiencies, more rework, more confusion. So yeah, fantastic feedback there. Thank you. With all of that, I know we've covered some of the theory there around people and culture and process, but I did promise you practical tips. So let's shift gears slightly, and we'll get into some of that. So in terms of practical things you can do to assess and optimize people and culture and process, here are a few examples. So the first is a stop, start, continue. This is a really simple but powerful pulse check exercise. It helps teams reflect on where they're at now and identify some practical next steps. So the idea is straightforward. What are we doing that's not serving us that we want to stop? What are we not doing that we should be doing that we want to start? And what are we doing that works really well that we want to keep doing? So this is a framework. Using it for AI adoption is going to mean that the adoption is intentional, structured, and focused on real improvements rather than just adding technology for technology's sake. If you're a virtual team like most of us are, you can use collaborative tools like Whiteboard, Miro, Mural to run this exercise. This helps everyone contribute in real time instead of one person just taking the notes. It makes everybody feel like they've got a voice, they've got a stake in the outcome. If you're lucky enough to be together in person, you could go traditional, sketch it out by hand, move post-it notes around on a wall or a whiteboard. But the key here is visuals. Visualize your culture in a way that makes it easy to spot opportunities. So some examples, I don't want to keep going back to the theory. Let's get some practical examples. So behaviors that we might want to start, stop, continue. So stop, we might want to stop working on proposals that we then have to withdraw from due to deal breakers in the terms and conditions that we should have spotted sooner. It's something I hear pretty frequently. Maybe you want to start holding kickoffs earlier in the process, in the RFP timeline. And maybe we think we're doing really great at helping SMEs with content creation. We want to keep doing that. And you'll notice that all of these are behaviors, but they're going to start translating directly into AI use cases. So for this stop one, the use case might be we're going to use AI to do a first pass on the contract terms while we have to wait, days or weeks for legal to do a full review and markup. For the start, the use case might be we're going to use AI to shred the RFP, aggregate the capture data, so that team members have all of that data at their fingertips. They're up to speed quicker, and we can hold the workshop sooner. And then continue. So if we're helping SMEs with content creation, but we want to get slightly more effective at it, we might look at using AI for storyboarding. Maybe if we're not technical subject matter experts ourselves, we'll use AI to help critique the first drafts of any technical info that's coming through. So as you see from the behaviors, the use cases, the AI adoption isn't just about the technology, it's about identifying the right use cases, the ones that are going to improve efficiency, improve decision-making, collaboration, and the more intentional we are about what we want to stop, start, and continue, the more successful our AI integration is going to likely be. Another exercise I facilitated before is a role swap. So proposal professionals, technical SMEs, sales teams, they step into each other's shoes. So for example, a proposal manager could think about proposals from a salesperson's perspective. What challenges do they face? What opportunities could AI create for them? Likewise, SMEs who typically provide content and maybe typically provide it late, put themselves in the shoes of the proposal manager, experience some of those time pressures and constraints that we experience in our day-to-days. This exercise, I really like it. It highlights self-awareness, but also empathy with others, cross-functional collaboration. Because, my experience, AI works best when teams understand each other's needs. So that culture of collaboration, empathy, is going to ensure that the tool's implemented in a way that benefits everyone rather than just one department. Team Charter. Team Charter, a really powerful tool to align everybody on the purpose, the principles, the behaviors that we need for successful AI adoption. Again, not just for proposal teams to do in isolation, include the technical SMEs, sales, leadership, so that adoption is a shared effort, a shared responsibility. Because the most effective charters, whether they're just general team charters or specifically relating to AI, they're not just drafted and pushed down from leadership. They're built from the ground up as a team. I've got an example on screen there. So this is a template for how you could break it down. Shared vision and principles, some guiding principles that are more specific, maybe some desired behaviors, roles and responsibilities, and some success metrics. So like I said, encourage participation. You want to build the charter with the team, not for them. And you might want to think about incentives as well. So if you're looking at AI adoption, how are you going to reward it? You might think about gamification, recognition programs, maybe an incentive around good knowledge sharing. So think about how you could move forward with that. Here is a very basic example that I created. Lots of detail there. You don't have to read through it all, but just a placeholder. If you have a team charter already, or you want to, if you were going to implement an AI charter today, what do you think is one thing that you'd include? So maybe a principle, or a behavior. If you could type that in the chat, and we'll see what comes through. For me, I think it's the transparency, is really clear, is really important. You know, who's doing what, how are they using AI, so that we're not just operating in silos. Oh, this is a good one. Willingness to learn and evolve as the technology evolves. Fantastic. Yeah, proactive participation across teams. Again, really, really good. Yeah, buy-in, super important. Willingness to learn. Yeah. Yeah, just being open and sometimes a bit vulnerable that we don't know everything, and we're here to learn together. Fantastic. Okay. You know, a well-prepared, well-defined team charter is going to help AI adoption in proposals. It's going to make it intentional, and align with business goals as well, because we're not operating in isolation. And I'd argue that the best AI strategies are going to start with the people, rather than just the technology. As we think about adopting AI, we also need to consider how it's going to affect learning and development. So a few important long-term considerations, maybe training on the AI tools. That's what everybody thinks about as the obvious thing. You know, what training do we need after we've implemented a tool? Is the vendor going to provide it, or are we going to have to do it ourselves? And what does that training look like? Impact on job descriptions. I don't know about you, but looking at job ads at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of familiarity with AI tools as a nice to have. I think it won't be long before that's a must have everywhere. You know, how are we going to redefine some job descriptions, if we're changing the way that we work? KPIs and performance reviews. You know, will AI be incorporated into performance tracking, or how will it be? And how are we going to define high performers? Are we going to measure them the same way that we have historically? And then finally, career paths and growth opportunities. So I'm hearing from a lot of proposal apprentices, analysts, coordinators, who are saying, you know, all of the tasks that used to be our proving ground, we're now using AI for. So, you know, how do we gain experience in a different way? And then finally, how are we going to retain and upskill teams in this different AI driven environment? So let's take a pause again. I'm interested. I'm cheating a little bit because it was one of the Q&As that somebody sent me through before the session. What's one skill that proposal professionals will need to succeed in an AI-driven future? Keen to get your opinion if you want to type that in the chat. Yeah, we've got a mix there. So like prompting and prompt engineering, yeah, technical skill, and then yeah, some of the interpersonal skills, analytical skills coming through. Patience, yeah, that's going to be a key one. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say with all of these, yeah, AI is going to reshape the skills and the career growth within our industry. And I'd say organizations that are proactive about investing in learning and development, they're going to see a competitive edge in the proposal space. So onto process mapping. I'm not going to get too into the weeds with this. This is a fun-looking, very streamlined, very simple process for a typical proposal. not reflective of the Gantt charts that a lot of organizations are using. This is just a streamlined example. But hopefully you'll have a process, a graphic or map like this that reflects how you do things right now, so your current state. What you can do if you're preparing for AI is, as a workshop exercise, you'll want to go through each of these steps or phases, and you're going to analyze it in terms of a few key things. So you're going to start off with what you do. So for each of these steps, what are the tasks within each phase? How do you do it? So what tools and systems are you currently using? What workflows do you currently have in place? Are they manual? Maybe some of them are automated. Maybe you've got a mix. Then when do you do it? So when do the time delays occur? Which of the steps might be highly manual, really time intensive? And then think about risk as well. So where are the biggest dependencies? If you don't do that step, what does it have a knock-on effect on? Who does it? So identify the roles involved in each stage. And I think the most important why. So what's the business value of each step? Are there any opportunities to streamline, to automate, while still maintaining that compliance and quality? So I'll take a pause here and ask for your input again. Which part of your proposal process is the most time consuming right now? You can type it in the chat. Seeing qualification, content development. Yeah. Oh, library management's an interesting one. Oh, yeah, Stephen, reviews. I empathize. Reviews and governance for me. Yeah. Outlining, although that's a good time investment, in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, so some trends there. Reviews and content development seems to be the most common. So what can we do here? So we've looked at our current state. We've identified any of the major challenges, the pinch points, and then what we're going to do is put that to one side and start to build a second version of the process map, which is going to reflect where we want to get to, so the desired future state with AI enhancements. Now, you might not know all of this. It may be something that you're going to have conversations with potential vendors about, but I think you'll be able to identify three key areas. So firstly, where AI can reduce manual effort. So that might be, if I'm giving an example here, that might be maybe an AI-powered compliance check as an initial first pass. Where AI can improve decision making. So something I'm looking into a lot at the moment is how can we use AI to take the optimism bias out of opportunity qualification or go, no go. And then lastly, an idea I've been talking about with a couple of clients, can we look at how to use AI as a self-service tool for sales, for SMEs, if they're working on low complexity, lower dollar value proposals that they wouldn't normally get support from the proposal team on. So we're going to take all of that, we're going to create that desired future state map, and we're going to see where the gaps are. And to summarize here, AI, we want it to be enhancing rather than replacing the process. And by mapping out where you are now, where you want to get to, you're going to ensure that the adoption is strategic and you're going to get value out of it. So finally, tool and vendor selection. Why is it important? Well, I think at its core, selecting an AI tool or the right AI tool is like evaluating a proposal. It's going to need to meet some functional requirements. It's going to need to justify its cost. and it's going to need to deliver measurable value or ROI. Now, as an aside, I know organizations must try and balance the make versus buy decision. Anecdotally, I know some of the organizations I was speaking to 12, 24 months ago that said they wanted to attempt to build custom AI tools. I think most of them have found out it was actually cheaper and easier to buy instead. So this is where I'll focus this section of the presentation on, rather than building a tool. I think the last poll of the session, if you've evaluated AI tools already or you're in the process of doing it right now, what is your biggest challenge in choosing one? Security, budget. Where to start? I think that's so many options. Yeah, over, I think, 100 proposal AI vendors. Lots of data, lots of sales pitches, lots of demos. Yeah. Yeah, no single tool that has all the features we want. And maybe if it did, I'd dread to think what it would cost. Yeah, budget and choosing the right one. Yeah. Yeah, and longevity, Stephen, that's a really good point. Every day there's a new AI service geared for us. It's hard to tell which one will last 6 months, let alone longer. Fantastic. Okay. When looking at AI tools and vendors, I'd argue that a lot of the internal factors matter just as much as the external factors. So we'll put the vendors' websites and sales pitches and demos to the side for a minute, and we'll focus on some internal factors. So there are 6 here that I think are important. The first is obviously your needs, your organization's needs. So you can pull those from the insights that we've generated from the previous exercises. So the team charter, the role swap, the start, stop, continue, the process maps. Make a wish list and prioritize it accordingly. Maturity. So is your current process and your function mature or immature? Is it ad hoc, tactical, strategic? Do you have any experience of using automation or AI tools in proposals before? Do you have that digital fluency? Budget, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Proposal complexity, a number of things under this. Think about, are your proposals more question, answer, or are they heavy on solution, really highly customized? What's the size of your team, either internally or do you work with teaming partners? What's your response timelines generally like? And in terms of industry and sector, so does the industry that you operate in have specific compliance or AI restrictions? And then sector, are your proposals generally B2B or B2G? And then geography. So are there any regional compliance requirements that you need to consider? And are you developing proposals in different languages? That's always going to add a layer of complexity in there. So those are all internal factors. And then when you're looking at external factors, you're looking at the tool and the vendor. Here are some things that you might want to look at. So obviously the technology, what's the core technology behind the tool? Like Stephen mentioned, is it scalable for future growth? Is it going to be around to support you through, maybe a merger or expanding teams? Does it integrate with the tools and systems that you're using already? Think about your CRM, maybe your document library. How secure is the platform? Is it going to pass the internal assessments of your IT team? Then product features. So I'm not going to get into the weeds with this, but is it user friendly? Could a technical SME use it easily without feeling pain to get up to speed on it? how customizable is it? If it's really rigid, you're going to have to re-engineer your process. But on the other side, if it's too customizable, it's going to require a lot of budget and time to configure it. And what does it do? Is it more focused on content development, or does it have wider capabilities that you want to take advantage of? Oh, sorry. Vendor credibility there. How long have they been around? Do they have proof points, case studies, testimonials that you can see, and customers that you can speak to? What does their development roadmap look like? Are they going to keep improving the tool, or is it going to stay pretty static? Commercials there, what's the pricing model, and what are the things that they're going to add on, maybe as additional costs that you haven't considered? If things go wrong, what's their customer support like? And how are they going to help you quantify the ROI, which is really interesting when organizations are looking at tools and they're trying to think ahead to how do I make a business case for this? And then finally there, implementation. So how long is it going to take to deploy the tool, to onboard the people? What resources are you going to need to provide from your organization versus what the vendor's going to provide? And how frequently are there going to be updates, new features, improvements to the tool? And I'd argue, selecting the right tool is going to balance all of those internal and external factors. So that was a lot of content. What now? I'd argue that in this new era of proposals, the teams that are going to lead are the ones that put the people first, the process next, and the technology in service of both. It's not just about doing things faster or increasing the volume. We know it's important that we win more easily. We minimize our stress and burnout as proposal professionals. I'd say that the strongest proposal teams are going to be the ones who integrate AI at every level. So in collaboration, strategically, and most importantly, decisively. I don't think this is going to be a passive shift anymore. It's going to be a defining moment for our profession. So I'd say that my final thought there, the question isn't whether we adopt AI, it's how well and how fast. And that is where I'll leave you. Thank you everybody for listening. Happy to take questions via the chat. I have a couple that I can talk through that I was sent before. So a couple of Q&As that I did get sent through before. First was how do we get leadership buy-in for AI adoption in proposals? So I'd say, to get leadership buy-in, you need to think like leadership. So you need to convince them and make them see AI as a strategic enabler rather than just another tool and a cost. And we talked briefly about business cases. The key is to tie AI directly into business impact. So, whether that's better compliance, improved proposal quality, improved win rates, even maybe some softer metrics like retention rates for proposal team members. I'd say if leadership is hesitant, you might propose a pilot. So a lot of the tools out there will give you a trial period. So could you pilot that within a particular business unit or on a particular series of proposals, measure the results, and then kind of prove the concept and build momentum from there. And I think, if you really need a reaction out of leadership, FOMO goes a long way. So just tell them the competitors are already exploring it, and for leadership, this is a chance for them to truly lead rather than lag behind. The second question I got through was around skills, but I think everybody answered it better than I could when we had that chat within the chat function. So open to questions now. Looking at time, we've got about 10 minutes left. But Victoria, maybe you could help me
Yeah.
pick an interesting
Um,
question, not a difficult one.
I see a few in the chat, but I'm looking at Stevens right now. It says, how do you review all these new technologies and figure out which ones seem legit versus which ones seems like marketing content?
Yeah, great question. I think with difficulty is probably the answer. I think even as somebody that's not directly buying AI tools, I've been engaged by a couple of clients to do a bit of a market scan, and I really empathize with what you're saying. There's I think up to 100 tools out there, and I've met some of those folks in person at the APMP conference last year. I think it's looking at some of those internal and external factors that we talked about, and just getting your shortlist together before you start to do demos, and really kind of going into the needs and establishing those, rather than trying to see what's out there, what do the tools do, and then trying to match them. I think it's looking at that, getting a scan of the market, making a short list, and then doing demos, because I think you could be doing demos for weeks if you met with everyone. We are launching a service to help folks with tool selection. I don't want to promo it on this webinar. This is not what it's about. But please connect with me on LinkedIn, message me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to provide you more information. Service will be launching beginning of March.
And I am going to put the link to your LinkedIn into the chat.
Thank you. Really good tip from Sarah there. It was when they were reviewing vendors, really helpful to reach out to peer member groups like APMP chapters to get an understanding of which tools people are using, the pros and cons of actually using the software. Yeah, really good point there. Yeah, honest reviews rather than the glossy marketing information. I'd say the free trials as well. If you can get a hold of those, and you've got your information security requirements kind of checked off and approved. Yeah, just having experience, because I think your demo's only going to show you so much.
This question from Alyssa is, I'm also very interested. I'm gonna just ask the first part of it, but how do
Sure.
you justify AI tools for proposals where only one or two people may use them? Or just, I mean, the way I see the question is just how do you justify, getting your company to purchase an AI tool, depending on who it's for?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think more broadly than the proposal team, like who's gonna feed into the proposal in terms of technical SMEs, sales, make it a shared responsibility, and then doing a market scan. There are I don't think there's necessarily as big of a barrier to entry in terms of cost as there was with proposal automation tools, going back 5, 10 years. There are options out there for those who are on a tighter budget, maybe smaller organizations, that maybe don't want all of the bells and whistles in terms of features that enterprises do. And accordingly, the cost is slightly lower to reflect that. So yeah, I just scan a bit more broadly in terms of who are the players out there that cater towards smaller teams, maybe small to medium-sized businesses.
Thank you. Let's see any other questions, but you have them, please drop them in the chat. We do have a few more minutes left. Okay.
Victoria,
Um,
how will the recording be shared? Because we've got some
yeah,
questions
I've
on
been
that.
responding to some of
Oh,
those
okay,
in the
fantastic.
chat, but I'll just say it out loud here. The plan is to, once this is done recording, I will pull it down, pull it on our APMP NCA YouTube channel, and then share that link with folks in an email.
I
So
forgot we were going to do this. Do you want to promo your YouTube channel? Because this is new for the NCA members, right?
maybe
You can't.
so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we can do a quick promo. So our APMP NCA YouTube channel, it's not fully fleshed out, so I don't want to share the link right now. But once we do share the link, it will have all meeting recordings going back to 2020 with lots of great info from current and past friends of the chapter. So we're really excited to share that, and more details on that coming on our LinkedIn page.
Fantastic. Happy to take any questions as a maybe Victoria after the session, if you're able to export the chat and send it to me. If there are questions that I didn't answer, I'm happy to reach out to folks to answer those. Alternatively, QR code for my LinkedIn profile is on the screen. Please either keep in touch if we're already connected or do add me. Happy to take questions and even arrange some virtual coffees as well.
I will say I met Carrie through a virtual coffee. So
And I'm an introvert and I like virtual coffees, so anyone can do them.
yeah, no, it's great.
Thank you very
I
much for having
will.
me.
Yes, no, thank you. So what I will do is I will export all of these questions. I see a few more after we asked the last one, but I'll get
Mm,
that to you, and then we should be able to answer them either directly to the person, or maybe we'll send it to this list of folks.
fantastic. I wanted to finish at least 5 minutes early, which we have, just so that folks who are on their lunch hour can still grab a bite to eat. So thank you everybody for attending. Thank you for listening. Happy to take any feedback if you want to reach out on LinkedIn there.
And I will also say once you leave, there will be a meeting survey. If you could fill that out for us as well, that'd be very helpful.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. Stop recording.